Let's go, champ. It's the champ, Shannon the Cannon Briggs, and you're watching True School Sports. Let's go, champ.
I'll astound your eyes when I get down to the nitty. This thing's moving damn slow. Chill for an hour, then grease them all and still walk through the corridors with my hands on my bills. I still pass crews that amuse me not. Can't distinguish the English when they freestyle and jock. So try to pass by, you stand me down cold. You try to find my soul, save your rhymes for the mind. Nigga, I break it down for your headpiece and give peace signs. And ride the shepherdese, carry on. Never do crime to all mankind. Make a line, feel the pain. I'm running out of time. The lies will get done. I never had a gun. I even you with trauma when you night bring the drama. Carry on, never do crime to all mankind. Make a line, feel the pain. I'm running out of time. The lies will get done. I never had a gun. I even you with trauma when you night bring the drama.
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Nah, I hope you guys are doing all right. Wherever you're at in the world, you know, we got the whole coronavirus epidemic going on. So until then, we'll be quarantined here in True School Sports. And we will be bringing you top-notch boxing content as we always do. Now, I came across an interesting article, and I've seen people on YouTube making videos about this, most notably Hatman Boxing. So shout out to Hatman Boxing, good guy. I saw a video on Hatman's channel, and he was talking about a poll that was done on The Sun. Now, I know The Sun has a horrible reputation with people in the UK. It's a really looked down upon news outlet over there. We won't get into the reason. If you don't know the reasons why, then you just don't know. I'm not going to get into that in this video. But they did a poll, and a lot of people are talking about it because they polled, I guess, a bunch of their readers. I mean, and 72% of people that voted on this poll. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. Where the hell is that poll at? I had the poll in front of me. Oh well. To hell with it. They did a poll, and 72% of people are picking Tyson Fury to defeat Anthony Joshua. So that's a pretty damn big number, guys. That's damn near 3/4 of people who saw that poll on The Sun voted for Tyson Fury to beat Anthony Joshua. And listen, the hype on Tyson Fury has never been higher than it is right now because of the fact that he just fought Deontay Wilder in one of the biggest heavyweight fights in terms of notability, as far as how notable it was, as far as attention. You know, Wilder Fury too. Maybe not in terms of pay-per-view buys because they lost a lot of buys due to streaming and things like that. But in terms of the cultural impact, in terms of how the fight moved the needle culturally in America and the UK and the world over, the fight was a big time fight. Probably the biggest fight the heavyweight division has had, at least in like the last 5-10 years, no doubt about it. With that being said, he looked great. People are high on him. You know, a lot of people are now beginning to see what I've been saying for years on YouTube, which I think which is that Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, the linear heavyweight champion, you know, that he is the best heavyweight in the world, and it's not even close. It's not even close. Everybody else is fighting for second. With that being said, I found the poll interesting because, you know, Anthony Joshua, since he's been, you know, a professional in the professional ranks of boxing, you know, from winning the gold medal in London 2012 to getting his first world title against Charles Martin to, you know, beating Vladimir Klitschko in a modern day heavyweight classic to, you know, now recapturing the belts to become two-time heavyweight champion following his loss to Andy Ruiz last year. And Anthony Joshua really hasn't had any fights in his career where you could say going in that, hey, he's a clear-cut underdog. Maybe the second Ruiz fight you could have made a case, but until the weigh-ins, because then once the weigh-ins happened, a lot of people jumped off the Ruiz bandwagon. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought Ruiz was still gonna win even though he was fat. But nonetheless, every fight in his career, he's been either the favorite, and if he has been any sort of underdog in anybody's eyes, it's only by the hairs of his chin. If and when he fights Fury, that would be the first time in his career that he's the underdog. I mean, like a crystal clear underdog. And that's very interesting to me because we've never seen Anthony Joshua go into a fight as the underdog. We've seen him go into fights where maybe people question his heart and his ability to still fight because of the amount of money he's made, but not really an underdog. Because listen, even in the Ruiz rematch, I remember I was doing tons of videos about that fight. I I remember most people were still picking Anthony Joshua to win that fight. So he wasn't even the underdog against the guy that he lost to going into the rematch. And I'd be very interested to see how Anthony Joshua would approach a fight of that magnitude. I mean, it's not like it's just any fight. It's the biggest fight in his career. It'll be the biggest fight in the history, if it ever happens, for Undisputed. It'll be the biggest fight in the history of British boxing. And I'd be very interested in seeing how AJ's mental state and how he approaches that fight, because we saw him, like, no disrespect to the UK, but the UK is incredibly small in terms of America, in compared to America. And I personally believe his biggest fight, before the Reeves rematch, the biggest fight in terms of, cultural impact and moving the needle for his career was his American debut against Andy Ruiz. Because listen, I mean, America is the entertainment capital of the world. And for the Brits out there, because when I was in the UK in December, I met a lot of Brits who have never been to America, so they can't quite conceptualize how big America is in their brain. When I was in the UK, I was explaining to them how big the damn country was, because a lot of them don't understand that. Listen, I live in South Florida, California. I can't get on a bus and go from Miami to California in 3 hours like you can in the UK. In the UK, you could be in Liverpool, Manchester, and be on a bus and be in London in 3 or 4 hours, maybe even less. Because the country is that damn small. And for Brits for my British viewers who've never been to America, a lot of y'all can look at a map. I mean, you can look at the map and say, "Wow, that's a big country," but you don't really understand how big America is until you actually come here. So when Anthony Joshua came to America and he failed the way he did against Ruiz, that was a lot of people's first impression or first time hearing about Anthony Joshua in America, was that night he failed at Madison Square Garden. And on his end, his American debut was a failure. And the pressure of fighting in America, the pressure of delivering, the pressure of being in the entertainment capital of the world and not succeeding, I think it really got to him. Now, this fight will have, if it does happen for Undisputed, whenever it happens for Undisputed, this fight could have similar pressures, maybe even more pressure, because the fact of the matter is, this is a fight between the two best heavyweights from the country, aside from Lennox Lewis. And it's for Undisputed. It's the only time this may ever happen in the history of boxing, where you get two Brits who are number 1 and number 2 in the heavyweight division, fighting for all the belts in their primes. I mean, come on, the stars can't align any much better than they are now for Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. So my thing is, like, Fury's been on the big stage. Fury's had 2 fights in his career where you could say, yo, that was a massive stage, and when the stage was at its biggest, he performed at his best. You know what I'm saying? Anthony Joshua, you could say, has also been on big stages, because almost all of his fights are big stages in the UK. There's 70,000 people. They're in football stadiums. But I'm telling you, when these two fight, all the fights that AJ had before Fury for Undisputed, if the fight does happen in the UK, in terms of media attention, cultural impacts, and the types of pressure he will feel going into the ring, all the other fights are going to be child's play, Mickey Mouse affairs compared to this fight, because I mean, this is going to be a worldwide event. I mean, the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship, 2 British fighters in their primes duking it out. Maybe somewhere like Wembley Stadium or the Principality Stadium, but preferably Wembley Stadium in London. There's a lot of questions about Anthony Joshua's mental state from a lot of boxing fans. Not me. I think Anthony Joshua is a true champion. I think he's a true champion. I think he is tough up here. Otherwise, if he didn't have mental toughness that he has, there's no way he becomes 2-time champion and regains the belt from Ruiz. He would have still got folded up. If he was really as weak as everybody says he is, he would have still found a way to get folded up against Andy Ruiz in the rematch. But he didn't. He showed different wrinkles to his game. He boxed well, and it was, whether you like it or not, it was a masterclass with performance for Anthony Joshua in the rematch. You can't take that away from him. No matter, I don't care if Ruiz looked like Jabba the Hutt or not. You can't take away what Anthony Joshua did. But it doesn't. For me, it's not really a question of, is Anthony Joshua's mental state good enough to be champion. It definitely is, but is it big enough to handle having a guy like Tyson Fury, who is an absolute, boxing psychologist? He knows how he is the master of mind games and mental warfare. And we saw when Anthony Joshua was getting ready to fight Jarrell Miller, right? Like when he got ready to fight Jarrell Miller was getting in his head. Jarrell Miller was getting in his head with just, your prototypical, American trash talk, So what do you think is going to happen when Tyson Fury, the master of mind games, puts it on him at the press conference? Will he peel the layers of Anthony Joshua? Will Anthony Joshua become rattled? Will he become somebody that doesn't know how to handle the occasion? I'll be honest with you guys, and I'm gonna throw boxing out the door just for a second, because honestly, I think Tyson Fury is a better fighter than Anthony Joshua almost everywhere around the board. Everywhere around the board. I've been getting a lot of comments recently from the AJ fans, and listen, I'm an AJ fan too. I've been accused of being an AJ fanboy, which I'm not. I like AJ, I'm a fan of his, but if you're gonna accuse me of being a fanboy for anybody in this weight class, let it be Tyson Fury. There's nowhere on the board that Anthony Joshua is a better fighter than Tyson Fury. Nowhere. When I say nowhere, I mean absolutely nowhere is he a better fighter than Tyson Fury on the board. He's good. He's improving. There's room for growth, but he's not beating Tyson Fury. But all that aside, I get comments from Anthony Joshua fans telling me that Anthony Joshua is underrated, which I don't know how the hell he could be underrated. There's no way Anthony Joshua in any way, shape, or form could be underrated. I mean, the guy is literally British. He's literally the walking embodiment of British boxing. He is the British boxing establishment, okay? So he can't be underrated. They say, oh, BT, Anthony Joshua's got a better jab. BT, Anthony Joshua's stronger than Fury. BT, Anthony Joshua's just better than Fury. He's gonna stop him. It's not like a lot, and it's not a lot of people. So listen, if you're somebody out there right now who's telling me Anthony Joshua's gonna be Tyson Fury, then I respect you and I applaud you, because that's an original opinion. It means you can think for yourself. It means that you're not swayed by the moment. And I respect all the Anthony Joshua fans that believe this and give me their viewpoints as to why. But boxing aside, Anthony Joshua, and this is my opinion, Anthony Joshua does not have the mental fortitude to deal with Tyson Fury during a fight week of a fight of that magnitude. With all, because listen, you gotta look at it like this, right? Every fight Anthony Joshua's ever had in the UK at a football stadium, whether it be the Principality Stadium in Wales or Wembley Stadium in London or the O2 Arena in London, or if it was at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. Every fight he's had in the UK, the opponents he's fought, they either have no personality or they don't have very combative personalities. There's nobody that he's ever fought in the UK that you could say, okay, well, he's the kind of guy that's going to get into his head during a fight week, except maybe Dillian White. Maybe a Dillian White earlier in his career. And even in that fight, when he fought Dillian White was able to get into his head. Dillian White was able to, in that fight, as a very green and unpolished fighter, hurt him. He hurt Anthony Joshua. And, credit to Anthony Joshua, he rallied, he weathered the storm, and he stopped him, won the British title, and a star was born. But Dillian White is not Tyson Fury. He's not as good as Tyson Fury. He's not anywhere as intelligent as far as getting into his opponent's head as Tyson Fury. And I don't see Anthony Joshua being able to stay composed during a fight week with Tyson Fury. I see Tyson Fury in that fight outboxing him and just going ham. Because listen, one thing you guys gotta understand, I don't know if you guys saw, but Top Rank Boxing, they just posted a video on their YouTube account, and it was of Tyson Fury and Sugar Hill and a bit of their training session for the Wilder fight, because there was no cameras really in their training camp, not many cameras in the training camp for the rematch, and we saw none of his training for the Wilder rematch building up to the fight. But now, since the fight is concluded, it's been a month since the fight happened. Now they released footage, and the footage that they released was Tyson Fury just doing pad work and footwork drills with Sugar Hill out of the southpaw stance. So it looks like you can't really make too much of a 6 or 7 minute clip, but I'm very sure Tyson Fury, that when he was training with Sugar Hill, worked a lot on the southpaw stance and boxing out of the southpaw stance. And that's what makes the performance against Wilder even crazier, is that he beat Wilder and he never really even implemented the southpaw stance, because he would have been more, if he would have fought Wilder out of the southpaw stance, it probably would actually help Wilder, because it would have he would have Wilder throwing more right hands at him, and maybe Wilder would have caught a lucky shot. So actually, by being in the orthodox stance, it probably helped him, and it was easier to take away the right hand of Wilder in the orthodox stance as opposed to the southpaw stance. But Anthony Joshua isn't Wilder. He's a more complete fighter. He's a lot more stiffer. He's more predictable in terms of the punching angles. His punching angles are not going to be as crazy as Wilder. His punching angles are coming from the floor, from the side, up top, over here. I mean, you don't know where the hell they're coming from with Wilder. He's a gunslinger. And I'm telling you guys right now, when that fight happens, he gonna turn southpaw on Anthony Joshua and jab his freaking head off. And he's gonna put some serious pressure on him. And when that happens, let's see how good Anthony Joshua's gas tank is. Because it's easy to do that against Jabba the Hutt Ruiz, who didn't take the fight seriously. But let's see how good it is when you have a 270 pound plus Tyson Fury, 6'9", moving like a 175 pounder, walking you down like a Kronk gym fighter. Going out there to fold you up, not thinking that he can win the fight, not thinking that he's the best, but knowing that he can win the fight, but knowing he's the best, knowing that he is the best heavyweight by 1,000 miles, and there's not a man born from his mother that can beat Tyson Fury. So that fight to me is interesting for so many reasons. Obviously, it's undisputed. Obviously, it's the British undisputed fight, but it's probably, to me, the most interesting thing about that fight is the fact that Anthony Joshua will be the underdog for the first time in his career, and just the thought of his mental approach, his mental psyche going into that fight is something very interesting to think about. Because personally, look, whether he's the favorite or the underdog, I don't think he's beating Tyson Fury. I don't think he can beat Tyson Fury. His punch selection is good. He's got a decent punch selection. He's got an improving jab. Fight by fight, his jab is improving. His right hand is good. It's above average, but it's not Wilder. It's not Wilder like good, but it's good. Left hook, average. Uppercut, average, maybe slightly above average. But Anthony Joshua's, if you were to grade each Anthony Joshua punch, I'm talking about the quality of each punch, they're all just slightly above average or good. There's not one punch he throws that you could say right now in his career he throws great. And because of that, and his stamina problems in the past, and not even just that, the Fury's versatility as a heavyweight. Because when we talk Tyson Fury, we're not talking about just any random old fighter. We're talking about a guy who on a fight by fight basis is making a great case to go down as arguably the most complete heavyweight to ever step in a boxing ring. And that includes the likes of Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali and Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe, all these guys. Because he can box you from the outside like he did against Klitschko, and he could fold you up walking you down like he did against Wilder. You pick your poison, And I don't really see, other than obviously having a puncher's chance, how Anthony Joshua is going to solve the Tyson Fury puzzle. But I look forward to seeing him try, and I look forward to seeing how he'll approach it on the night, because I do believe Anthony Joshua is a true champion. I just don't think he's the level of true champion that Tyson Fury is. So all the AJ fans out there, if you disagree with me, if you think I'm just being a Fury fanboy, let me know in the comments. For the Fury fans out there, if you think that I'm telling the truth, let me know in the comments. If boxing fans in general, just let me know what you think I'm saying in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I am just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys.
Boom, it's your boy Big Baby Miller, straight out of Brooklyn. You're watching True School Sports. Tune in, sucker.